Hi, my name is Shawn. This is my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek, on YouTube and Twitter, and welcome to Avatar: The Last
Hola.
Podcasters. Sometimes I forget to even say the name of our podcast in the podcast. I don't know why that seems
Mm,
important, but it does seem important.
mhm.
It's probably not really that important. I imagine if people are here, they can see the name everywhere else. But this is Avatar: The Last Podcasters. This week we are looking at Book 3 Fire, Episode 6, which is called The Avatar and the Firelord. It is a very interesting episode. I'm extremely interested to hear the similarities and differences in our opinions, as I have a feeling there will be some. But before we get to that, like always, Chris, how are you doing? How was your week?
I am doing fairly good, fairly great. Week's been whatever, it's been a normal week. But today, as I told you before we went on, I got really jazzed up. The first couple images of Robert Pattinson as Batman has hit the interwebs, and I reacted accordingly. I think I tweeted out "Nerdgasm achieved," which that was the toned down um, sentence that I wanted to say. Um,
It's like the family
but
friendly. Hey, but this podcast isn't family friendly. It's not for kids, damn
exactly,
it. So say whatever you want.
I think you say "damn" and things now. I was reading a Superman Smashes the Clan book to my daughter, which interesting enough actually is connected to Avatar. The writer of that, Jin Lewin Yang, and the artist of that, I can't pronounce her name, Garura, or his name, also did a lot of the Avatar comics, like The Search, pretty much The Search, pretty much The Promise, all the way to Smoke and Shadow. They did it. Jin Lang wrote it, and I can't pronounce the name, did the art for it. And they also did this new comic book called Superman Smashes the Klan. It's a really interesting book. It's actually is a adaptation of the 1940s radio series. Like Superman had a radio show,
That's
like back in the
awesome.
days when he used to do stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind of killer.
And one of those stories was Superman going up against the Klan, saving this like Chinese family or something. And this is an adaptation of that. Reason why I brought that up, Alchemist, to the other Alchemist to things. Anyway, in it, someone says hell, and I was reading to my daughter, and I didn't even say hell, and I was like, "This is E for everyone." And I mean, it is, but like, I don't like saying not hell as in the place, but like, get the hell out of here.
Right, right.
Like, I don't even talk like that. I don't use that foul language unless I'm,
Unless you're really
unless
angry.
yeah, which is if I miss a layup in basketball, that's the time I curse the most.
I,
But
oh, I'm sorry. I interrupted. Go ahead.
no, that was it. But anyway, week's going good. I really like the new image of Robert Pattinson as Batman. I really love the bat suit. A lot of people say that a lot of people are theorizing that the symbol on the bat suit looks different. Like it doesn't have the ears on there and looks like it's made of metal. People have theorized that part of that metal is the gun that Joe Chill used to shoot his parents, and he has it on there. Which that only happened once in a comic book in Detective 1000, which I actually have over here on my drawer. I have a bunch of comic books on my drawer that I haven't read. Kevin Smith actually originated that, but I'm not sure. That could just be people theorizing things. But I'm not too sure how I like the mask. Also, they didn't show the whole mask, but it looks okay. But the music, the score on it, which is going to be used in the film, and is the original score, it feels and sounds so like daunting. Sounds so Batman. So I'm excited for that.
I can still remember when you showed me the first Batfleck images, and I think I'll say a majority of fans, as in greater than 50%, don't mind Ben Affleck specifically as Batman. I don't happen to not
I
like the
think
movies that he was
I
Batman in.
I
Uh,
think probably a 75% like him.
like
A lot.
him as Batman, right? He
Yes.
himself is a good Batman. It's just a product of the less popular movies, regardless of people's opinions, just lower performing movies. So I
Yeah.
remember being pretty excited about the original images you showed us of Ben Affleck. But then later, I think you showed the image of the kryptonite suit. I was a little less excited by the idea of like Iron Man Batman. It's a little strange, but I haven't seen the Robert Pattinson images. I will have to go check those out. And as we said before the show, I will try my best to pretend that he can act like a good martial artist, even though it'll be somebody else, I guess.
Yeah. And as we speak of movies that underperformed or underdelivered in some capacity or another,
yeah.
my most recent review out is of Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. I have my review out for that. I pretty much say it's the worst DCEU movie that's ever come out, which is a big statement, but also I like all the DCEU movies. So you take the good, you take the bad, something there you have the facts of life.
So I actually know that more from Peter Griffin saying it in Family Guy than I do from the actual show.
I know it more from Scrubs. So in Scrubs, do you ever watch Scrubs?
Just a little bit. I've probably seen a third of the show total.
I've been watching it a lot lately. There's a lawyer on the show named Ted, and he's like just the lowest person. Like he's like a ant, right? And everyone just walks all over him. And he's a terrible lawyer for the hospital. And so when anytime there's like a malpractice suit, he loses the case. But he has this band, this a cappella band called the Worthless Peons, and they sing. In one episode, they just sing a bunch of theme songs to shows, which they sing the Fats of Life at one point in a cappella. Interesting enough, I saw them live, and it was the greatest concert I went to. Granted, I've only been to 2 concerts.
That's kind of impressive.
And I got their autograph on my Scrubs. I think it's season 8. Me and my friend took pictures for some reason with our shirts up, and they had their shirts up too. Because my friend wanted them to sign his stomach. I'm sure it's not signed anymore, but
no, he never washed this patch right here.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay, back to Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Anyway, my review's out. Actually, it's not that negative review, but I had a lot of issues with it. But also, it's a very unique movie. Like I kind of want to go see it again. Strangely enough. And also, I have a free movie pass, so I might as well go see it again. But this weekend, I'm actually seeing 2 movies. I'm going to see The Photograph with my wife for Valentine's Day, and then I'm taking my daughter to go see Sonic the Hedgehog. So.
Oh, don't support that movie, Chris. No, I'm just kidding. Do what you want.
Okay.
I mean, I love Jim Carrey, and even in the stuff that he's in that's bad, I always feel like he kind of gives it his all. He's just one of those guys I tend to like. But I'm not a fan of this Sonic the Hedgehog movie, how it looks like it's going to be. But I know I'm judging ahead of time. I haven't seen it, but I probably won't see it until I can watch it for free. It'll just be to support Jim Carrey. I'm going to use your comments as a segue into my week because, so at any given time, there are like 3 shows that cycle for me. It's whatever sport is on. So currently it's basketball. And then whatever I'm watching with my wife, which currently is Community. And then there's a third show that it has to be something mindless. Like I can play it while I'm doing video games or whatever else. And it's supposed to be Static Shock. But for some reason, I got like a wild hair the other day. And I just started rewatching all of Digimon. So this week, I'm a little ashamed. This week, I've probably watched 40 episodes of Digimon in like 5 days. And it's no commercials or anything, so it's like 18-minute chunks of time. But I've also been playing a lot of Wii Sports at the same time, and I don't know why this happened or how it happened, but it's been a really odd week. And I'm trying to think of anything interesting I did this week at all, and I didn't. I just played Wii Sports and watched Digimon, and it was weird, but still fun. I'm not going to lie. I'm not ashamed. It was weird, but I'm not ashamed. Otherwise, nothing interesting about my week other than this podcast right here, which is the most interesting part of my week. And especially the next piece of news. I'm going to segue into the next piece of news, which I'm very interested to hear your take in. And that is about Netflix and Viacom.
Yes. So this isn't really news. This is me more so theorizing on
But
things,
the Viacom
speculating
part
really.
is news in itself, kind of, right? It's
Yes,
recent.
yes, it is. It is valid news.
Yeah,
So Viacom, who is a terrible corporate entity,
they
who
really
always likes
are.
to come down on, they always come down on like content creators,
They're
no
not
matter how
alone.
big
We're
or
not singling
small.
out Viacom. They're not the only ones that do this. They are just very large, and it directly
Yeah.
impacts what we do.
Uh, they're like, you play more than 10 seconds of something, take it down.
Yeah, we don't get flagged for the
Um,
theme song, but remember we used to have, like, the very first episode, we tried to have the video in there, and I don't know if it's because it was like a minute long or if it was because of the video, but they flagged
yeah,
that, but they don't flag the beginning or the end theme song, so I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe they like
I
us.
don't know. Okay, so Viacom, which owns a whole bunch of different things. They own Nickelodeon, MTV, BET, a bunch of other things. So they have recently merged with CBS. They actually used to be part of each other, and then they broke up, and then they remerged because just this is the day and age that a lot of companies are just merging up with each other. So that wasn't that big of news. But even like a couple months ago when they merged, I was like, they're eventually gonna have a streaming service. CBS already has a streaming service of CBS Online, CBS.
It's
I
some
forget
kind
what
of
it's called.
subscription service,
CBS
yeah.
All Access. Yes, that's what it's
Yes.
called. CBS All Access. And because everybody wants to put their content on their own streaming service. But then, I started thinking like, all right, well, what will they put on there? They'll put on like Nickelodeon shows and everything like that. But then Nickelodeon and Netflix, pretty much after Disney Plus went ahead with their things, I think to counteract that, Nickelodeon and Netflix signed a deal that they're going to have a multi-year deal to put their animated shows on there, and um, they're going to do brand new animated shows and stuff. So then my kind of concerns went away. So now what I'm concerned about is if the Netflix Avatar show is actually going to happen, which I think no matter what, a live action Avatar will happen no matter what. Now, the recent news that's come up is that according to Hollywood Reporter and plenty of other sites, Viacom and CBS are now looking at building a whole streaming service. So it says Viacom CBS, led by CEO Bob Bakish, is planning an expansion of CBS All Access, the streamer that launched in 2014 that would encompass brands like Comedy Central, Paramount Network, BET, MTV, and CBS News, among other offerings. Okay, so to bring all this together, the reason why I'm concerned about the Avatar Netflix show is that because Viacom has announced that they and CBS will be offering their own streaming service. So in the report by Hollywood Reporter, it says Viacom CBS, led by CEO Bob Bakish, is planning an expansion of CBS All Access, the streamer that launched in 2014 that would encompass brands like Comedy Central, Paramount Network, BET, MTV, CBS News, among other offerings. All Access has been led by original programming from the Star Trek franchise, including Discovery and Picard series, as well as scripted dramas like The Good Fight and a reboot of Twilight Zone. Um, so in my head, right, if I'm CBS Viacom and I want to have like the best IP to put on our streaming service, one of those best IPs would be Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, granted, they already have a deal with Netflix to do the show, but I mean, I'm just thinking like, what has taken so long to get all this news? Like to me, it shouldn't take Brian and Mike this much time because one thing, they already have a very good blueprint, so it shouldn't take this much time to really get the ball rolling. So again, I'm speculating here, and I hope I'm wrong, but maybe there are higher ups that are kind of holding them back a little bit because there's might be some things in the air. Now, granted, regardless if any of this happens or if all of it happens, I do think we're going to get a live action Avatar series. In a way, I still think we're going to get a live action Avatar series on Netflix. Now, what comes after that? I like if they ever do Legend of Korra, I can see Legend of Korra not going to Netflix. I can see it going to the CBS streaming service because then they'll kind of be completely detached from another, and they can start up different production and everything. Because once something is on Netflix, it seems to be really hard to take it off of that and put it on another streaming service. I mean, we see that with the Netflix Marvel original shows. None of those are on Disney Plus because Netflix put in production money to do those things. They have rights to that. Marvel can't, and Disney just can't take it, put it on
Star
their thing. Like
Wars
Netflix
was a big
produced
one.
those things.
Star Wars Episode 8 just popped up on Disney Plus recently, so that's been a big one for a while.
Yeah, yeah, like in those things, once those things run their course, they can easily move over to Disney Plus because Netflix didn't produce that stuff. So I think even if, long story short, to sum it all up, even if we don't get a Netflix series of Avatar: The Last Airbender, we will eventually get a live action series. Um, and I kind of don't see Legend of Korra. I envision that we'll eventually get to live action Legend of Korra or live action Kyoshi or some other Avatar stories. But I kind of feel like we're now just going to those have to wait to be put on to the streaming service. Actually, they could probably run, simultaneously at the same time if it was really. That's Brian Mike wouldn't want to do that though, and they like to be hands on with their stuff. But
I think,
and then onto the, and then people might bring up the Nickelodeon Netflix deal, which is a multi-year deal, but that deal really is just for animation. And like in their reports, they only talk about Nickelodeon's animation studio and creating new IPs and creating new films and television series, but all of it they say animated. So like one of the things is multi-year output deal to produce original animated feature films and television series. And so I don't think it has anything to do with live action things. Because honestly, Netflix has, I don't think they need, live action offerings.
So
from Nickelodeon, that is. But
yeah, I don't know if anybody needs live action stuff from Nickelodeon too bad. No offense, are you afraid of the dark? The three quick points, and the number one is probably the big one, is that the concern really is just over whether or not it necessarily appears on Netflix. Not that it happens. I think the idea has gained enough momentum that it does absolutely happen one way or the other. Two, I'm so sick of streaming services. I'm so tired of them already. Chris, I don't even own like any of them, which you're well aware as I steal most of yours, and I'm just already absolutely sick of them. Sometimes I watch Blu-rays and DVDs, or I stream stuff from shady websites just to stand alone in solidarity. And then three, fun fact, not that I don't think that CBS and Viacom, it doesn't seem to me like they have the properties to have like a real engaging looking streaming service. But at least there are some interesting ones there for like our age group of people. The age group of people buying these services, like I know people would buy it to watch like Comedy Central and MTV in particular. I put Rate My Professor on there just because I thought that was funny. I didn't know that. And then CBS Interactive also owns, I'm going to mess it up here, but it's like GameSpot.com and GameFAQs.com and a couple of those like major gaming and I guess nerdy or geeky industry websites as well that all kind of produce their own internet shows that are like fairly high production value, but it doesn't add up to like a consistent package in my mind, quite like Disney does or what Netflix, like if Netflix tried to just come in and start today or Hulu, we'd be like, that's messed up. That ain't going to work. But they, they've been around for a while, so they've got a head start. So I don't know that I hope it doesn't happen just because I don't need one more, but that's just me being stubborn.
Yeah.
I'll find a way to watch the show either way.
I agree with you that they don't have enough offerings compared to even HBO Max, because HBO Max really has like way more than I thought they had.
And
they have,
HBO
like,
Max
Cartoon
though
Network.
too, very focused. HBO Max has a big audience that knows exactly who it is, and HBO knows exactly who it is. It's very exclusive content. That's important. They've got a defined group of people.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody's going to buy
and also,
CBS to watch
they're
The
gonna have
Amazing
more
Race.
Game of Thrones series anyway. But like, I do think that this streaming service could compete with, like, say, Amazon Prime, because I really don't watch that much stuff on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime really has like four shows that I think people actually talk about.
I use it to watch
Um,
football, and then sometimes it'll recommend like a video game documentary is one I watched recently. So every once in a while, something random will pop up on there that I will watch. And then Thursday Night Football, it was kind of convenient to watch that on there. But at least that's
yeah,
one of those things. They can produce that, and it probably, I don't know, it doesn't seem like they're going to lose much. And they have kind of all their services of like gaming and streaming all wrapped together. So even if they're losing a little money just to stay in that market, maybe it's worth it to them. But I definitely use that one the least.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I do think the stream service is can compete with like Apple TV, and then NBC Universal has a Peacock. I don't. That sounds like trash,
Yeah, it
honestly.
does.
I guess you can watch
But a lot of that is that one
probably
paid
The
or is that one free
Office.
though?
Nah,
The
that's gonna cost money too.
I
So,
feel like right now you can get a lot
and
of
I think
NBC content free. But maybe
yeah,
I'm thinking of that CW app we talked about a couple weeks ago. The not the CW app, but the other one, the Seed,
CW Seed.
the
Yeah,
Seed.
random offerings on there.
Very random, and it cycles. I don't know if it cycles weekly or if I just hit like 2 week period where it cycled that week,
I don't
but
know.
there's a big turnover.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Anyway, that's
Apple, is
our.
like, oh, I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, it's just another
Nope.
tangent, but I saw like Apple's gaming service, and that's another thing that's like, when are people going to get tired of like these $10 caliber downloadable or streaming service games full streaming services full of like low tier caliber games? Like, I'm glad that AAA gaming isn't quite what it used to be because I always thought that was excessive in the heyday of like the PS3 and Xbox 360. But I'm about ready for game streaming services to die already while they're at it. But different topic for a different day. I'm just gonna keep playing Wii Sports. That Wii is gonna work forever, and that's just what I'm gonna do. Well, either way, we're no cause for concern that a show will happen. Just a matter of maybe where we'll watch it, and even then, I don't know how much concern that is either. So one way or the other, we're
Yeah.
gonna watch that show, and we're gonna get that
I
show.
mean, I do think. I mean, they're kind of things they haven't gotten to heavy in production yet. To me, like they're so on just on the fence of like diving deep into production, that they probably could cancel anytime. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Just say I wouldn't be surprised if the deal was pulled. I don't want it to happen because I want Avatar to reach as many people as it can, and Netflix is
Wherever that
going to
has to
provide
be,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they could be a timing thing. You know, if they knew this deal was in the works, like, hey, we know we're gonna do this Avatar show, but we thinking about breaking off, so we need to time it out in a certain way, where if we had to cut the cord, there'd be a sort of less sunk cost or something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of a worst case scenario,
Yeah.
but I would assume that type of thing happens. But I have no television industry knowledge to speak from. Anyway, well, let's go ahead and segue into our regular non-live action episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is called Avatar and the Firelord. Very, I don't know what else it is. Very interesting episode. That's all I know what to call it.
Very interesting episode. Like I remember seeing before watching this episode, I remember seeing the titles for the episodes before they actually came on. And I remember seeing Avatar and the Fire Lord, and immediately my head did not go to flashback. It went to Aang's going to confront the Fire Lord, like
Like, whoa, wait,
right
hold on a
now.
second.
So that alone really made this episode interesting to me the first time I watched it because they just open up on Aang, and I was very confused. I'm like, Aang's sleeping now. He's gonna meet the Fire Lord right now. But it would just kind of create a great turning my expectations on his head that no, this is a flashback episode of Roku and Sozin because they are the Avatar and the Fire Lord that are very instrumental in everything that has happened.
I remember the first time I saw it, I was old enough, in college, I believe, that we already like knew that at some point Zuko was going to turn into a not bad guy. But there's something about
Mm.
this episode that kind of hooked me. Of like, oh, like him and Aang have a pretty serious link in a weird way going on here. And so maybe the first time that like manifested itself in the show in any other way than that Blue Spirit episode, I guess, or the little tease at the end of season 2.
Yeah. So this episode opens up Roku visiting Aang in a dream, saying it's time he learned about his past. If you want to pretty much save the future, all this stuff, see how the war actually began. It opened up with Zuko also learning the story at the same time, getting some message from some random person saying if you want to know the demise of your great grandfather, which I love how it's worded, is the writing in this episode is really, really good. Just so much like subtle nods, and it does such a great job of just taking those expectations that you have going in and just turn them on its head. So Zuko goes down to the Dragon Bone catacombs and visits the tomb of Firelord Sozin and reads his last will and testament. And Aang goes with Roku to go down trip down memory lane.
Can you remind me with Zuko? What somehow Iroh like tipping him off to go down there? I'm forgetting that very first part of
pretty much
Iroh
sends a random person to go leave a message with Zuko. That's pretty much how it is. Like Iroh's still in prison; he hasn't escaped.
And then he's talking to Azula, and Azula asks Azula how grandfather died or something like that. Okay. I was missing a piece there in the front of that episode.
Yeah. Zuko questions it. He asks Azula. She's like, he died in his sleep. Did you read your history books? Things like that. But that's just, really interesting stuff. She has a chance there to make a quick dig at Zuko. Like, oh, if you go now, the royal painter would will paint you and make sure he gets your good side. Like, geez, she is such. Yeah. Oh, Azula. The more this rewatch,
bitch side. Shut up, Azula.
I think this podcast and doing this rewatch of Avatar, really looking deep into it, and this other video I have coming up next week, makes me appreciate Azula way more this time around for some reason. In this episode in particular, I have really high hopes for her character after the show. That I really hope they give her a good redemption arc, which we'll get into, I think, at the end of this episode about kind of what I may be alluding to.
This one certainly starts. I'm probably just repeating what you said, but in way worse words. But start to appreciate her as definitely the more interesting, fleshed out villain that's going to be left standing at the end, I guess. No offense to Ozai, who we've seen like twice.
Yeah. So Aang. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention. Roku says, I'm going to go visit my past life, our past lives. For some reason, I feel like people don't understand that Aang and Roku are like the same spirit, right? They're the same embodiment of this one spirit, right? That is Aang's past life. Because some people, and I can understand some of the misconceptions of this, because Roku is kind of a different spirit, and all the other avatars. I think I explained this to you before. Yeah, we've talked about this before. Actually, now I think about it. But like these are Aang's past lives. Like that's how it kind of. I don't want to speak too much about it because I don't understand the religion aspect of it as much, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I do. But that's how it works I think in Hindu or in Buddhism, like that is your soul going from life to life. And you can only, in order to escape this kind of cycle, you got to reach nirvana, which is a theory that I have on Iroh, that Iroh was able to break this cycle and become a spirit. But that's a theory for.
You know what? That's one of those things that they probably didn't care. I doubt the creators cared to like
get into the details of like this is exactly how this is.
You don't want to start scratching the surface on that too. You want to get just enough to make it feel right and feel at home, and it does.
Yeah.
Unlike the random spirit in the movie.
Yeah. Okay, so they go back. They look at they flash back to Roku and Sozin at like about 16. They're best buds, right? Which again, it's turning your expectations on its head. You didn't expect these people to be best friends, but they were, and they fight. But it's a nice little spar. And then eventually they have like their birthday parties because they're both born on the same day, which is really interesting. It's to me that's so like in a way, Sozin was so close to becoming the Avatar. Like
That's his
if he,
motive. It should have been
yeah,
me.
like and there's been in the past avatars who have been the Firelord. If you look in the picture, and it's a picture from Legend of Korra season finale of book one of all the past avatars. If you zoom in, there's one in the background with the Firelord crown. So, like, how does that story
Is that
develop?
the random unnamed avatar? The random unnamed.
That's not. No, that's not the Firebending one that we called Rozukin. That other
Rozukin.
people
Yeah,
call.
I'm glad you remembered his name. I was really proud of that.
Yeah, that's a good name. That other people call Jafar, which I think is so uninspiring.
It is, and
And
it's kind of harsh. He could have been a really good guy. It's basically
yeah,
stereotyping what those people are doing.
it's completely just gosh, guys who wear tall
Monsters.
hats are apparently called Jafar. But those are Hattis people is what I call them.
So I just finished the episode where of Community where Pierce is thinking about opening a sandwich shop with Shirley, and he's like, "Should I
Yeah.
have my people call your people? I mean, not you people, but your people."
That's hilarious.
And that's the one where Abed and Troy try to act normal just for 24 hours at Shirley's wedding, and I really loved it. It's been one of my more interesting episodes of this season. Sorry, tangent, just fit right in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's okay to go off. But yeah, so it was really interesting. It's like Sozin, became the Avatar. I mean, he wouldn't be Sozin, right? He would be in a way like Roku, but just the fire. It's all slightly complicated.
Right, right.
But they're born the same day, which calls into question destiny and all that thing. So that's really interesting stuff. But I just love the scene of right there at the birthday party. They're coming down steps and everything, and the fire sages come around, and Sozin is like, "Something happened to my father." And it's like, "No, we're here to announce the Avatar." Like one thing I love seeing announcements of avatars. Which this is the only one we've actually seen.
It's the
That's
only
interesting.
official.
Anyway,
I mean, we've seen
yeah,
like revelations, but like a big announcement. It's kind of cool.
yeah. Like, and he reached up to age 16. Um, yeah, most avatars apparently don't do that, or it's weird. The ones we've seen. Anyway, he says, uh, "We're here to serve you, Avatar Roku," and everybody bows, and even Sozin bows, which is
It's kind of
really
neat.
interesting. Like
Yeah.
to get in his head of like I'm the Fire Prince and I'm bowing to the Avatar. Like, should I even be doing that? Um, and it plays to me. It plays back later. And the more I think about this episode, the more I really like it. But the thing that so I'm gonna bring up the movie. Right? There's a couple
Wow, we
good
were
things.
having such a good episode until I brought it
I
up
don't
already.
know.
It's fine. It's your turn.
Yeah, that's true, did. But there are a couple of just nuggets of smidges of some good ideas in the movie. The one I did,
So
the
deliberate in
one,
your compliments.
the one I did like is that Aang running away from his responsibilities, everyone bowing to him. He's not able to take that. He runs away. Granted, the idea of him running away because they were going to take him away from Gyatso is way more powerful than him running away just because of responsibilities. Um, and also because the lie that oh, you can't have a family, all that stuff, which that's not canon, that's not real.
Nonsense.
Really, that's more of an Airbender thing that you can have a family, not an Avatar thing. But but I do like that scene of them all bowing to him, and he's not being able to bow back. And then at the end of it, he's able to sort of bow back to everybody else. This reminded me of that, and I do think it's a good, out of context, that's a good scene. In context here with the show, that's a good scene.
I can get on board with that. It's like the best
Yeah.
piece of storytelling that movie has to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, and pretty much, Roku and Sozin has a pretty good like heart to heart, right? And uh, and Sozin gives him his crown, which is really cool. And also, you've always kind of wondered like, why does Roku have a crown like that? And it gets played back again later in this episode. So again, they explain things, right, that you didn't imagine would be the case. So really enjoyed that. I have a feeling though that wasn't thought of before. I'm sure when they first designed Roku, they're like, oh, we should just give him a crown. And then when they got to writing this episode, it's like, oh, it should be his crown, which is fine. That's how happy accidents happen all the time.
That's how
in
creativity
writing.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. So then Roku goes and he trains to be the Avatar. Trains for 12 years, which apparently that's how long it probably should take a person to travel the world and become the Avatar.
That's right.
So this is an interesting point, I think. Right. So Roku went 12 years, traveled the world, learned the other four elements, learned cultures and different ways of everything. And this epiphany hit me today that like that is part of being the Avatar just as much as being like the bridge between the spirit world and the physical world. Like traveling all across the world and learning about all these make you empathize with them more, make you appreciate them and understand their cultures to where you want to protect them. Like that is vital to being the Avatar. And Aang didn't get that. He was going to get that. Korra never got that, even though she could have gotten that when she was trained. Like she was trained just in the South Pole. Like they would bring teachers in for her to train from. Like how much better it would have been for her to go out into the world and train and learn those cultures and get a greater appreciation for it. So maybe that sort of explains, Korra's, eagerness and stuff.
There's like some underlying sexism in there. It's like, no, she's a girl. We can't let her out. She got to stay here.
No, I don't think it was sexism. It was to me. It was okay. It was mostly driven from that. The reasoning, I think, is driven from that the White Lotus was so protective of her after the Red Lotus tried to kidnap her. Because it wasn't Aang's wishes for her to be locked up and for them to train her. I'm pretty sure he was just like, hey, White Lotus, look after the next Avatar for me, will you? And they were like, okay. And then they failed at one time. And I'm like, holy crap. All right, she's just going to be here. Yeah. Which is really, man. Now I'm thinking about like Jianju from Rise of Kyoshi book and how he felt like he let down Korok.
Talk about trying to compensate for mistakes, but
yeah. Oh yeah, he went a whole nother direction. Of like,
he went a little crazy.
Like he felt like he let down Kuruk by one thing, training a person to be the Avatar who was not the Avatar. And then he let down Kuruk also for not being able to save him. And he's like, you know what? Kill you. Oh wait, some people might not have read Rise of Kyoshi. Oh well.
Oh, they should have, but let's be honest. We want everybody to read that book who is a fan of this show.
Yeah. But that's not a... Yeah, okay.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, man, going off on tangents here. What time is it? 4:40. Okay.
That's what this episode does, though. This is it leads you down paths of curiosity, let's call them.
Yeah. So Roku gets back, learns, he's a fully realized Avatar now, and he comes back, and him and Sozin are still cool, right? He's best man at the wedding, so that's all. They're still dabbing it up, they're still hugging. So all that's good. And then Sozin explains to Roku, sets him to the side, and it's like, hey, we're the Fire Nation. We're enjoying this really great wealth, this really great time. We should share it with the world. And Roku's like, nah, nah, 4 nations. Gotta be four.
I like how you said first. He's like, nah. Mm-mm. No explanation, just nah.
Which is, to me, this is an interesting thing, right? Because I think Roku, as the Avatar, thinks I must keep peace and balance between the 4 nations. They have to be separate because ones can't cross over with each other. We mentioned before on this podcast that Roku was probably wrong, right? It's outdated thinking. Also, it's not the original intent of the Avatar. When Wan became the Avatar, there wasn't 4 nations. Like, when did it become doctrine that as the Avatar, you must keep 4 nations pretty much separate but equal. You must
Yeah.
keep peace between them all.
It's almost like he was getting some bad intel from his own past lives or something like that.
Yeah.
No, maybe just like a misinterpretation. Like in his
Yeah,
mind, the best way
it's
to
the game of
maintain balance was for everybody to have their own identity, and he just that's what, Roku. That's why you ranked a little low. Your heart was in the right place, I think. Hey, I ranked him higher than you did, but it's fine.
That's true. Yeah.
But his heart might have been in the right place. But you know what? When you're talking about the balance of the whole world, heart in the right place ain't gonna cut it, Roku. Come on, man.
Yeah. And the thing is that I don't mind if we can dive into if the show can dive into a better reason or a more explained reason why Sozin felt like we should spend our wealth to the world. Like, maybe he's been to the colonies and he's seen how poor they are and everything. He wants to help them, sort of like Kuvira did, right? As a great uniter. Like, these villages and stuff, like, they were getting ransacked, they were poor.
Just a more mature motive, kind of, rather than like a childish, like, oh, we have good, let's share good, or the opposite of which is like, I'm bad guy, must conquer, eat. Like, let's get a more mature, true motive in there. I think.
Yeah. Which, according to Lex of the Fire Nation, in it, Iroh writes that Sozin was more so jealous. The reason for the war is that Sozin was more so jealous of Avatar Roku's power, and that he wanted to match that. In order to match that, he built up a freaking army and take over the world. And I don't like that part of the writing in there because it skews that even more towards the evil for evil's sake type of deal. Even though it's like jealousy. But
it feels a little
to me, they were going down. They're going down a better path of like, oh, I want to share my wealth with the world. That's a little bit more mature, and I could have delved even more into that. I hope the live action series, whatever streaming service it's on, it'll probably be on Netflix.
The CBS series, no.
Yeah. I hope they give a little bit more backstory and really mature reasoning. Complex reasoning, understandable reasoning that Sozin will start this war, and then from there, each Firelord kind of takes that in a different direction that wasn't his original intended idea.
That spreads the wealth at least between the two. At least that sounds like political facade, sort of.
Yes.
Not a big politics guy myself, but it's closer. But let's get closer still. You can do it, Netflix series.
And then we pick up in the Earth Kingdom, and Sozin has actually invaded, and Roku sees this. And then he goes and confronts Sozin. And weirdly enough, weirdly enough, I've watched this series literally dozens of times, maybe at least 15. And for some reason, I've just realized that Roku went to the Earth Kingdom, and then he went back to the Fire Nation and tells him, I've seen the colony, Sozin. I weirdly... which is the dumbest thing I think I've ever thought about as an Avatar fan. Really thought that Sozin set up shop in the Earth Kingdom. Like, he made like a throne there. And that's where Roku was. Even though everything you're telling me, that's not what happened. So I got to admit my ignorance in that. Probably
it's like a passive thought. It's one of those things that if you would have dedicated like a full minute to just like, nah, he didn't do that. But you don't. It's like a passive, oh, he must be there, on a field trip or whatever. And that's his secondary throne. I'd do the same thing all the time.
Yeah. The thing is, Roku says, I've seen the colonies, Sozin. Like, it's not like... I don't know why I was assuming... So I just wasn't putting much thought into it. And this time I put a lot of thought into it. But I do love Sozin's first comment of like, um, before, right? So there's kind of three levels of Sozin's growth here. He first bows to Roku when Roku's announced to be the Avatar. The second time a bowing comes up, he meets him for the first time after 12 years of saying, he says, "It's customary that my subjects bow to me, but for you, a hug would do." Something like that. Third time, he's like, "You are a citizen of the Fire Nation. You need to bow to me, essentially. Anything, you have to obey me. Anything less than that, then that's treason." So just really interesting character changes or arcs for Roku, because arcs don't always have to be a positive arc.
You can arc bad either way.
Yeah, you definitely can. And this is a really cool scene of Roku pretty much being like, "It's over, I'm ending it." And then Sozin fire bends at him, really cool scene, and Roku just earth bends underneath, gets somewhere else up. He like air bends him, goes into Avatar state, and pretty much levels the whole entire palace.
Which he's about to waste this guy right on the spot.
Yeah, like imagine, like that's embarrassing for Sozin, right? Like
you're supposed to be the greatest fire, maybe not literally the greatest firebender, but you are the great firebender. You're the representative. Gotta be tough getting whooped.
Yeah, like not only like it's in your house, it's in your throne room, in the heart of the Fire Nation, the place you're supposed to be the safest at, just got demolished, wrecked by one person. Granted, that person is the Avatar, but still,
it's not necessarily a fair fight, but
that's how small he is. All right, which that's also kind of interesting, right? Like we talk about like strength all the time and compare characters to other characters.
Sozin, we like to do
he must have been one of the greatest firebenders.
Versus that person all the time, yeah.
Yeah, like Sozin must have been one of the greatest firebenders there was, right? But Roku completely handled him. So then, we think about like say, Aang versus Azula. Azula is one of the greatest firebenders, and Azula handles Aang all the time. I won't say all the time, but that's a good match. Korra versus, I can't think of another person, but the same with Korra as with Aang, right? Their strength compared to the strongest bender in any other element is close until they go into the.
We're talking about much younger, less traveled and educated benders. So
yeah.
I'm gonna put some weight there.
Yeah,
but I see where you're going in general.
I definitely understand it. Roku has 12 years to master the Avatar state.
Like he's at his peak professional playing days of Avatardom.
Yeah. And granted, once Aang goes into Avatar state and once Korra goes into Avatar state, they can both handle anybody if they're in the right state of mind. They're OP no matter what. Just that Roku was just like boom boom, like even before he went to Avatar state, the match was pretty much already done.
Yeah, he was showing off quite a bit before. Not showing off, but showing up.
Yeah. And so also, this is really interesting, right? Imagine being someone that's like, "Hey, so now we got to redesign the throne room. How do you want it?" Because the throne room is way different here than it is in the show. In the present time. In the present time, it's really dark, really ominous. There's like fire everywhere. I feel like the Firelord's put on an even higher kind of pedestal.
It looks like a bad guy place, like a stereotype bad guy kind of domain.
Yeah, I wonder if he like intentionally redesigned it that way of like,
I don't want any rocks, and I don't want any water anywhere, and no air. Get that shit out of here. Sir, pardon? You heard
this
me.
Place will be made of trees. I want wood.
Things that burn. Sir, are you okay? Trouble at home? No, I agree. The place that we see in this episode looks more just like a political venue, I guess.
Yeah, looks far more
still
open,
monarchical.
You know? Yeah. So then they have the fight, and pretty much Sozin gives up from then on out. And then years go by.
He
Really,
threatens to kill him.
decades.
He literally says,
Oh,
"If you
yeah,
do
yeah,
this
yeah,
again,
yeah,
I
yeah.
will kill you." And he looks like he's
Yes.
about to kill him there, but that's actually my favorite
That.
part of the whole episode. He's just like, "You do it
Yes.
again,
Yes.
I'll kill you." It's like, have you ever been mad
Yeah.
enough at any one human to even think about saying that? Like, to literally consider it? Much less this kid you, like, grew up with. It's like, I'll still kill you. Don't
I've never thought about.
don't
This
cross
was a
me.
video. This is a video idea that I'm eventually going to get to. I have so many video ideas. Which I've mentioned this to you before. Oh yeah. I remember that time that I mentioned this to you because I had an epiphany this day. It was at our old job. I'm pretty sure it was when we were both had the same position. You were sitting right next to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I've never once thought about killing a person until I became a father. Right? And then I could think to myself, if someone did something to my children, I can imagine I wouldn't say I would kill them, but I can imagine myself killing them. And that thought startled me. Like, 'cause I'm a fairly, I wouldn't say passive. No, I'm not a pacifist. I don't mind fighting people. But
But, like, a
I'm,
deliberate in choice and action person.
yeah.
Like, you wouldn't kill somebody out of, like, a rash emotion. Like, maybe, I'm sure murders happen that way, but
Yeah.
I can see that entirely.
But then
Uh,
that thought of like, yeah,
so
I
now
could kill
take that,
somebody.
though, and remove the child, and then pick, like, your longest standing person that you've ever known, and be like, what would that person have to do to piss me off so much and be like, I'm going to kill you, and you won't even be able to help yourself. Like, you saw this fight
Yeah.
right here. It's going to be just like that, but twice as bad.
Yeah. Oh, and he says it's
That
so
person.
good, just like it would end in your permanent demise. Like such great writing says something, but it says it, especially in kids shows, but they say it in a way that's worse than if they actually said the bad thing that they can't say on TV.
Got to flare it up a little bit for kids, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that part.
Great part. All right, he's so embarrassed. Like my daughter was like, "How does he get down from that?" I'm like, somebody would.
We had to call in an Airbender representative from the embassy down the street. It was bad.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I mean, would have. Yeah, I mean, how does that? That just has to be so embarrassing for the Firelord for that to happen.
We had to get some contractor benders in here, and then, about halfway through there was a strike. It was a big ordeal. It's
Yeah.
the part of the story nobody wants to hear.
Oh yeah. So years go by, and Roku's Volcano Island. Don't build a Don't build a home on
I
Volcano
think
Island.
we should
First
have learned this by now. Although maybe he's arrogant enough, he's like, I can probably bend it.
Yeah, I'm the Avatar. I got it. Anyway, the island starts to explode, and he pretty much saves it, but he's kind of losing the fight going up against this volcano. Which one thing at one point, as a viewer, you are thinking to yourself, okay, I think everybody's off the boats now. I think you can go away. I don't know what there's left to saving.
Cut your losses, build your house somewhere else, man. Come on.
Yeah, I'm really dumbfounded on that. Unless he's like, oh, I gotta really, really make sure everybody gets away. But it seemed like everybody was in a pretty good.
I don't know why, but I thought you were going like, I got a really, really good deal on this real estate here, and I can't pass this prime. I gotta build right here. That's right. I don't know why I thought you were going that direction with it. What you said sounds better.
No, I like the real estate deal. And then so Firelord sells him, helps him out, helps him. One thing, that's a pretty good friend to help your ex-best friend take out a volcano that doesn't really need help being put out because everybody's pretty much safe. Unless I think story-wise, they should have visually shown people really close. That way it provided a little bit more stakes to that because, like I said, I don't know
Sense of
why Roku's
urgency.
still battling this volcano. Like when Fang shows up,
Unless he had an ulterior motive the whole time.
like when Fang shows up, he's like, "Fang, get away!" And I'm like, "Why don't you just hop on Fang? And just hop on Fang and just leave."
He's got
That
the
was
right
your
idea.
escape.
Like, he's got animal instincts. Come on.
Yeah. But Sozin helps him out, and they do some interesting thing. They do the same move as lightning redirection of taking the heat from something and putting it out, uh, dispersing it somewhere else. Which, like we've mentioned before, there's some crossover between bending here because airbenders can heat things. They can bend hot air, um, but firebenders can like take heat away from things, and they can disperse it to other areas. They can heat up things, like not just through fire, but just through
Maybe
just through their
firebending
chi.
is literally just the act of causing molecules to move so fast or transferring energy between molecules, and that would explain like their lightning bending or their fire bending or their heat bending. It's like they're just controlling the speed that molecules move at and dispersing that energy other places. It's crazy. Or maybe I don't know science that well. That could be it too.
Um, but it's funny. There's a couple. So there's a scene in here where Sozin almost almost dies, and then Roku saves him with the rock. It's funny because it's just like I want to make it meme, but I can't find the pictures for it. I'll have to take a screenshot of it for somehow. Just like, hey, Airbender's alive. Airbender's alive. Airbender's dead, and it'll just be like.
It's just going to be that Drake meme where the first one he's looking skeptical and it's going to be Sozin saving Roku, and then the next one where he's happy and it's going to be Sozin killing Roku. It's going to be that or something similar. Oh, spoiler alert, Sozin lets him die, but it's fine.
Yeah, so, Roku gets caught up by the gases, and Sozin has a change of heart, which is kind of weird because then it makes it seem like he did come out there with good intentions at first. Which I guess, that's kind of fine because once the opportunity presents itself, you're like, oh crap, I can do what I want to do. The opportunity presents itself. Really,
maybe that near-death scrape sort of sparked an idea. Like, wait a minute, what if I kill him now? And he can't go to the Avatar state right now. Like, what if it's just sparked the idea? It's like, hey, this might be helpful.
Yeah. Which in a way it kind of mirrors Zuko at the end of book 2, which is
true.
Which I might just be delving too much into this, right? Because Zuko's going down a good path. Everything is good, right? He has good intentions, freeing Appa, and then he's presented with the opportunity that he didn't think he had before.
I don't know if he has good intentions yet. That might be, I don't want to say the difference because we don't have enough context in this episode. Like, I don't know if we really get to see Sozin's inner workings. But I don't know if Zuko had good intentions yet. I think he had, I don't know, there's still some self-serving,
He seemed to be firmly in the direction of good. He freed Appa.
It's going the right direction for sure.
He wanted to have an Agni Kai with Azula, just hours ago, or a day ago. He didn't seem fully good, but seemed like he was ready to start creating his own destiny.
He's starting to point his own.
Which for Zuko, that's important.
So maybe there's certain actions that were taken by Zuko and Sozin that were emotionally driven in a good way, but then it's after things settled for a while and they're take advantage of a very specific situation. I can see people in real life having that kind of emotional swing.
Yeah. Yep. So then, Sozin betrays Roku. Roku dies with Fang. They go out together, and
it is kind of a baller death. If we're being, you don't want to die, but
it's a great scene. Fang wrapping himself around Sozin, and then they're both being just encompassed in the
dragons are my favorite. I would love to die with my pet dragon, just be my ideal way to go out.
No. And then Sozin continues his story and pretty much says how he used the comet to he knew that the next avatar would be an airbender, so he wiped out the air nomads. But then he says the avatar eluded me, and I love this line because I love when in movies or shows when they say the title of it, but it's when it's natural. Right.
Sorry, just made me think of Family Guy again.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of Suicide Squad when Will Smith is so we some kind of Suicide Squad, huh?
And then the whole theater was what?
Yeah.
that's the last
But
movie. Did
like,
I see
it's
that
funny
with
because
you? I
like,
think it was the last movie I saw with you. I think I
yeah, I
saw
think
that with
so.
you.
But like, but what a movie that does it really great is The Dark Knight. Right? Like Commissioner Gordon is giving his speech. Right, he's like he's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a Dark Knight, and then and the Dark Knight comes up. That was done beautifully. One thing I get goosebumps every time it ends. So in here, I really love it. You know, Sozin saying like, but the Avatar eluded me. The Fire Nation's greatest threat, the last Airbender. So that just adds like a level of lore and on a legend to it.
It's really well written dialogue, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. I think we all get pretty jacked up when you hear movie or show titles in the show itself. It's always
Yeah.
pretty exciting. And well, I suppose that's the
yeah. Even now I'm thinking
out.
of Game of Thrones because even Cersei says like when you play the Game of Thrones, like I think that's the only time the term Game of Thrones is used
She came
in
out
the
really early with
show.
that one too. That's like season 1.
Yeah, that's season 1. Yeah,
And
she's talking
where
to
she's
Ned.
coming, and you're like, oh, she brought out the guns early.
Yeah.
And then immediately from that point on, we're all like, this bitch needs to die. We turned that switch on real quick. It doesn't happen for a while, but stay patient, HBO fans. Yeah, and that's pretty much the end of the episode. You get the little good piece of dialogue there. The last few minutes at least seems like a flurry to me, but
yeah, that's the end of that story. But the biggest part of this episode for me is Zuko going back to Iroh saying like, I got your message. Like, you told me to learn about the history of my great grandfather. How about the secret history of my great grandfather? How about the history that everyone already knows? And this is the first time Iroh has spoken to Zuko since his betrayal. And Iroh says, no, Prince Zuko, you have more than one great grandfather. So, Firelord Sozin was your father's grandfather. Your mother's grandfather was Avatar Roku. And like, when I first see that, I was like, what? Like, I was floored. Like, holy crap.
And that's the part where you're like, Zuko and Aang kind of like, there's some spiritual and genetic, well, half spiritual, half genetic linkage going on there.
Yeah. And this scene, man, I should have gave audio visual more credit because this scene is, gosh, I'm so mad at my score now because I've kind of forgot about how great this scene is.
But it's a small. I mean, I see what you're saying, but it's a small part of the episode.
Yeah. So in this scene, the way this scene is framed is that it's from the perspective of Iroh most of the time, and from his perspective, you get a lot of space with Iroh, and zoom in on Zuko, but the bars are like on Zuko to where it almost looks like Zuko is the one in prison and Iroh's not, and it's so well done. And then there's a specific part where the bar comes like right in the middle of Zuko's face. So you see one half and the other half, and that's that time that Iroh says like, in you, you have the struggle of good and evil, raging war inside of you. Now this is the part where I feel like Iroh just says F Azula because Azula has that same thing in her. She is also the great granddaughter of Avatar Roku. And
yeah,
so
but nobody
you would think,
likes her, so we're just gonna.
Which, all right, I like calling out. I like bringing some characters down a notch, right? And I feel like I've done that to Iroh a couple times, right? I say he's responsible for his son's death, which he is. He was probably a terrible. I won't say terrible person, but he waged war on all the other nations.
He was nurtured very poorly.
Yeah, granted, he was misguided, but he still did those things.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is that Iroh didn't treat Azula with as much respect as he treated Zuko. Right? Like, when he gives them both gifts, he gives Azula a doll, which she's not into dolls. He gives Zuko a knife that is like a really grand knife that's about like bravery and stuff. It's embroidered. It was from the general. And he just didn't. I don't respect is not the word I'm looking for. He didn't see Azula in that light that I think he should have, and I don't know if I call it sexism, more favoritism probably.
Yeah,
that he didn't.
I've always been in the mindset that like you don't have a favorite child and grandparents and grandkids. Like you don't have favorites, but like you still got like a favorite kind of thing, like just a little
You
subtle.
have, you might not have favorites, but you have ones who require more of your attention. It's funny 'cause I think
You
my
maybe
family is
connect
like
with a
that.
little differently. Maybe so.
Like
Maybe
my,
Iroh in his elevated spiritual state at that time. Maybe he hadn't reached his peak yet, but maybe even at that time, he had the foresight to think that Zuko was gonna need his help, or that his sort of destiny with Zuko was pretty intertwined, or something like that. Maybe it was very
I
intuitive.
do, I do think his connection with Zuko after Luten's death is him projecting his shortcomings with Luten onto Zuko, and and I mean that is what he's trying to do, but he doesn't project that same thing onto Azula because Azula doesn't need that help. Although in a way she's more, and also he saw that he wasn't being loved right by anybody. But yeah. Oh, and so my point before about Azula redemption arc is that I think this could tie more into that also. I mean, Zuko still doesn't. I don't think in the comics he even knows that Roku. Oh no, Zuko. I'm sorry. Aang and Zuko haven't had a conversation yet, but he hasn't disclosed to Azula that like, hey, in you, Azula, is the same thing that's in me. Like our great grandfather is Avatar Roku. Like you have in you the potential to be good. So it'll be really interesting if Azula learned that information and what she would do with that information in her state of mind now. Her state of mind before she went crazy, she would have just been like, whatever. I don't care.
I I know you guys have talked about it a couple times. I see you and Jamie. I don't know if I care that Azula has a good redemption arc. Like she's such a good bad guy, and I don't, whatever. She can just be a bad guy. She's got good motives, and at a certain point she goes crazy. I'm okay if she's crazy beyond repair. Not that that makes Iroh better for not trying to feed that same lifeline, but I don't know if I care that she has better redemption arc. She can just be bad for me. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good too. I'm fine with that, or I'm fine with the redemption arc.
Or as I say, either
I don't
way,
want a
right?
full
If they
redemption
if they
arc
make
to
some
where
creative
she.
if they make some creative
I'm
liberties,
not.
that's fine too. I can handle
Yeah,
it either way.
I don't
But
want a full one where she's on Team Avatar and chimming it up with everybody. I want her to be more like an anti-hero.
there's not going to be villains in this story. It's just heroes and anti-heroes. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
Who are we fighting
Uh,
against? We don't know.
okay. And then it goes back to Team Avatar, and they have a conversation, about Toph says, and even after, and Toph and Katara and Sokka are like, even after all that, Sozin betrayed him, even after Roku showed him mercy, and then Toph says, it's like people are just born evil, and then Aang, says like, well, no, that's not the case at all. I don't think that's what Roku's trying to tell me. Roku was just as much Fire Nation as Sozin was. It's really that everyone has the chance to to do good, to redeem themselves. And that also got me thinking about Azula. And then he says, I also think it's about friendships. And I love this moment here of Toph being like uncertain. Because one thing, Toph isn't all that spiritual, and she's like, but she seems open to it. She's like, do you think friendships can outlive lives? Do you think friendships can? Dang it, what she was like? Do you think friendships can?
Outlast a lifetime or outlive a lifetime or
Yeah,
something like
outlast
that.
lifetimes. And then he says, I don't think why not. And then Sokka says, well, technically speaking, scientifically speaking, I just love how Katara, like they're all holding hands now, and Katara just like, Sokka, just hold my hand.
Sokka,
And he
shut
goes
up.
like, and holds her hand, and she does this like quick smile. It's a good Team Avatar moment.
Sokka, shut up for just a minute.
Yeah.
Let's have a moment.
Yeah. And that's the episode.
It feels like the last 4 or 5 minutes of the episode is where like the whole meat of the episode
Really enough,
really is. Yeah. Not that that's good or
Yeah.
bad in particular, just one of those
No.
back heavy episodes. Let's get to some ratings. Excited to get to some ratings. Even if you're regretful already, you can't be regretful. You ain't started.
I am regretful of this rate. I should have gave it a 9, which would be easy. You know what? I'm changing to 9. Whatever. You're already editing things.
Too late. I already
You're
saved
editing
the
probably.
Excel sheet, Chris. I'm sorry. It's in there. It's been saved. It's out in the ether.
Okay. Audiovisual, I think a couple fight scenes with Roku and Sozin were really good. Um, and of course, the scene in the jail with Iroh and Zuko. Uh, I put 8.5, but I'm jumping to a 9. So you can do whatever you want.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Story at 9.
Remind me later when I have the Excel sheet open again. Oh, remind me later.
Okay. Story gets 9. We just learned so much about her, Roku and Sozin, and diving into that. That was just all really interesting stuff. And then just the reveal at the end there, story-wise, I think drives a lot of internal conflict within Zuko. Not necessarily external, because it doesn't. No one really mentions it afterwards, but I think it still puts a lot on Zuko's mind. This is really the last time that Zuko is kind of questioning himself. I mean, he's shown a couple more instances, but I think after this, he seems a little bit more sure of what he should do.
He's got like a seed planted of
there's a seed
anyone
planted.
can be good, and that like it's almost like, this whole time Iroh's been telling him that he can be good or he can choose his own destiny. But at this point, it's where it turns from being Iroh's idea to one of those where it's like his idea now. He's seen it. He's connected with this potential.
Yeah. Yep. And then on to memorable. It's a 9. I've always really loved the episode, and really the last 5 minutes is the most memorable of it. I think after really learning about Roku and Sozin, that's not what keeps me coming back to this episode. Even though that's all great, it's really the last, just the Zuko and Iroh interaction. So that gives me up to a 9 out of 10. Not the 8.8 out of 10 that it was before.
Yeah, 9. I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to audio-visual, and I'm actually going to lump it with memorable together. I gave them both 8s. And the main reason is that I really liked them both, maybe better than I even thought. But nothing was like big enough for me, I guess. And I don't know what I always have an issue with these episodes that are back heavy, and then nothing was really no one or two pieces stood out. The fight scene was good enough. The end scenes were decent, but even the scene where Sozin died, it was really cool, but it was really quick. Nothing was big enough or dramatic enough, but it's still good. So I gave both of those 8s. Kind of for the same reason. And then the story, usually I hate this type of episode, but this one sort of told its own really good, unique story that I really like. It stands well on its own. It fits, like it's in the right place here in this series. It just does something that I don't think any other episode does all that well, or does both things quite that well, where it does stand alone as its own good individual story, but still gives a lot of this other context and stuff that usually I don't care for as much. So I really like the story. As I mentioned, 8 on memorable. It gave me an 8.4, which was higher than I thought until the rewatch, for sure. Upon the rewatch, I was pretty impressed. Average score 8.8. 7. I don't know. Probably 7. I think you're right.
Probably 7. Yeah.
And that's pretty solid on our overall list of ratings. And here's a cool scene where you gotta somebody's gonna have to pluck him down. Oh, that's great. And I never even thought about getting him down. So props to Kinsey for having to call out some things that kids see things differently. So I'm glad for her input.
They really do, and they also interrupt podcasts.
They
no
kids and wives, really, man.
That's really rude. My daughter is sick.
It's really rude, but it's
I'm her parent. The family can be rude to their.
It's like one of those where it's sort of fair game, but I don't know how often it happens that people actually notice, but my door in this room doesn't shut, and it bugs my dog when he can't see both of us. So he'll come just open the door and look in and then leave, just to open the door, and that's it. So it probably sounds different at various points. I always wonder if people can hear it. Anyway, a great episode. Next week should be pretty interesting. I honestly don't even remember what the episode is, but we do.
Well, next week, I don't know what we're doing next week. Honestly,
we have to do something different, something special.
5th year anniversary of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we'll figure out maybe something special to do. Maybe we won't review an episode next week. I'm not sure entirely.
We
We'll
we
do
will make
something.
something unique one way or the other. It'll be good either way. We will probably put it out on the on Saturday morning because we'll probably record it Friday night, which Friday is the 21st, which I think
Yes.
is the day that we're looking for. So it'll be like the day after. And sorry about that, but I want to feel like I have all of Friday night and no bedtime, no adult bedtime or anything to worry about. So we can record freely. So we'll do something big, something fun. I couldn't even tell you what the next episode anyway is. I'm sure it's great, whatever it is. We'll tell you at that time. Come back and watch. This is our teaser. We don't know what it is. Come back and see what it is. In the meantime, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank
No,
you all
you,
for watching.
you
I feel like
say
I've gotten
thank
a lot
you.
more. I feel like I've gotten a lot more comments lately from people saying they've watched. Some people said keep up the good work. One person keeps bookmarking our Kyoshi review. So which I didn't for some reason I never thought about that. Like, oh, if I'm ever listening to something, I can bookmark exactly where I was at just by commenting the time. Um, Although usually
That's one that
usually
you
goes
got to
right
do
back
it
to
in
wrap
that
it up.
video.
Yeah, it's a long video. But thank you all for the comments and stuff. Really appreciate it. If you have any questions or anything like that you want us to ask or answer on the podcast, let us know. Follow us on our different places. We have a
last
Twitter
last
account
underscore podcasters, Twitter and Instagram.
yeah, yeah,
It's
and Instagram, and then a Facebook page. Check that out.
I like seeing the comments from like different venues. Like I'll go to Twitter and I'll see a comment or two, and I don't check it super often. Every other day or every third day, and so I go and kind of look at a backlog and see a couple comments in there. Go to Instagram, see a couple. Go to YouTube, see a couple, and like cumulatively, it makes me feel pretty good. So, thanks a
Yeah,
lot. We appreciate all of your participation. Someday we'll have enough of a fan base where if we plan like 2 weeks in advance, we'll just get ridiculous questions from fans. Not serious
yeah,
questions like, hey, who would win the fight? Like not that type of questions, but like just outlandish questions, and we'll answer those. I don't want any like
yeah.
serious ones.
We actually have a 5-star review on Apple.
Oh, no kidding.
That's really good. Yeah,
This sounds bad, but if you're gonna leave reviews the way that the internet works with podcasts, really iTunes is the only place that matters
yeah.
a whole lot. I don't know how to say it nicely. It's not even like in this day and age. It's not that most people listen to us on iTunes. It's just that the most people in general listen to iTunes, and so their 5-star ratings seem to mean a lot more. So if you want to rate us 5 stars or 1 star, whatever, know that it will have more impact if you do it through iTunes. So that'd be cool. If you're gonna rate us either way, we'd love to hear why. That would also be meaningful to us. We're both pretty analytical minded folk at heart and by trade. So with that being
Yeah,
said,
we got a review from Mavs Fan for Life. This was on August 25th, 2019. So hopefully
that's
he's still
awesome.
listening. It said, "Great show." That was the headline. Great show. Nice to hear some other avid adult Avatar fans. So shout out to that guy.
That's awesome. That's exactly what I like to hear. And like I said, if you want to rate us 1 star, go do it there. But tell us why. That'd also be good. I will accept your criticism if it is actual criticism. But I have really soft skin, so don't make it not criticism. And so yeah, thanks a bunch. We sincerely appreciate it. It's very flattering to see all the input from different places. In the meantime, thank you for watching us today. Come join us next Saturday is when we'll post it. It will be for the 15th anniversary of our favorite show. Yeah, it's our favorite show. I don't know why I question that. We have a podcast about it. We don't have a podcast about other favorite shows. So come join us then. Chris, thanks for talking
I'm
to me
starting a
tonight.
Scrubs podcast.
I would have to like actually watch Scrubs first. And Chris, I don't know if you caught this, but I got like 30 more episodes of Digimon to work through while I play Wii Sports. Very important.
All
right
right,
now.
community. We'll do community podcast.
I would do a community podcast right now. I know there's complaints about a certain season. I don't even recall which season personally, but I would absolutely do a community podcast at this point. Another time. We got a lot of Avatar. We got Korra, live action Netflix series, and we only do 1 episode a week. That's like we got some years of content ahead left. So
Oh yeah.
another time. All right. Thanks everybody. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week.